Hey everyone, Gill Gross here, post-match. Novak Djokovic versus Alexander Zverev, US Open 2021 semifinals. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. Novak Djokovic is now one match away from the Grand Slam. He defeats Zverev in his first 5-set victory of the US Open, and for the 4th consecutive match, comes back after dropping the opening set. He will meet Daniil Medvedev in the final on Sunday. I'm going to analyze everything that went down in this match and why Djokovic came out on top once again. But first, this video is brought to you by Rally Tennis. Rally Tennis is a new mobile app that makes it easy to play tennis in your area, whether you want to compete or just train. Creating an account is free. Just head over to rallytennis.com or search for Rally Tennis in the App Store. And if you sign up and use me, Gill Gross, as the referrer, you'll also get $10 towards your account. This video is a little bit later. It took me a little bit longer, you'll notice, to upload this video than my normal post-match analysis, and that's because I felt the need to watch portions of this match on replay, which is typically what I do for Monday match analysis, but not what I do for a post-match video because it takes too much time. But the reason I felt compelled to do it this time is because I always find Djokovic-Zverev matches very difficult to read, very difficult to analyze, and that's because they aren't very tactical, and they're not. It's not that Djokovic and Zverev aren't tactical players. It's not really the case at all, but they're both very capable of beating each other in many different ways. And I don't think that there are patterns that overwhelmingly advantage one over the other. And in order for tactics to really matter, that has to be the case. And usually that means that a match between Alexander Zverev and Novak Djokovic comes down to who can play their best tennis in the most important moments. And I think 100% this match, this 5-setter, was an example of that. And as a result, I think the best way to analyze this match is to do so chronologically. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take us through the match, the ebbs and flows, and I think that's the best way to understand what happened in the match. So let me start with the first set. The first set was, I'd say, of a decent quality. And it was pretty serve dominant, but it really flipped because Novak hit a bunch of bad forehands. And that was kind of the turning point and the break in the first set. Djokovic played 2 poor forehands. He played a very passive point that with a bunch of balls in the middle of the court. After those 2 forehands, I think still kind of rattled by them, which allowed Zverev to take control, and then he double faulted on break point. So Djokovic was really the first player to play a loose game in this match, and it was in this first set at 4-all, interestingly enough. And the forehand early on in matches has kind of given Novak trouble on multiple occasions for some reason, and most of it has just been timing, and most of the time he has just been early, and his hips are going before the racket head. He just seems out in front of the ball. The down the line forehand, I think, has been pretty good pretty consistently, but for some reason in these matches, he's missed a lot of inside-in forehands early on, and then he's missed a lot of cross-court forehands, and I'm not really sure why, but that has been the pattern. He tried to over-adjust after that game, and instead of being early on some forehands, was actually late on a couple of forehands, and I believe he shanked 3 forehands in the next like 15 minutes just from being late on them. One of them was on set point in this first set. So to me, the reason Zverev really took control and won this first set was because Novak's forehand really left the ballpark here. And as we entered the second set, the forehand was still giving Djokovic problems. But then there was a turning point where Zverev missed a super, super easy forehand of his own at 30-all. And it was by far the worst shot that Zverev had played all match long. It was in the midcourt after Sasha did hit a great first serve, and Djokovic hit a very difficult return on the full stretch. Probably most players wouldn't have gotten the serve back, but still, Zverev had a very easy forehand in the middle of the court on a floater, and Novak was going the wrong direction, and Zverev decelerated on the forehand and hit the ball long. Awful miss, and then he double faulted on break point. So it was the turning point in the match, because up until that point, Djokovic never really got settled in. Zverev's serve was pretty imposing. I thought that, it was a competitive match. It hadn't really gotten going yet. It felt like it didn't have that much juice yet, but Zverev was kind of controlling the tempo, and it felt like Djokovic was hanging on. But the way Zverev missed that forehand, it just screamed, that's a playing with the lead mistake by Zverev, because he didn't just mistime the forehand. He decelerated, and then he double faulted. And it just felt like Zverev got a lead and then wasn't comfortable in that position. And we've just seen that a lot. So that was a little bit disappointing. And then what happened was also bad by Zverev, because I don't think he was very intense for the remainder of the set. I thought he lost all the belief that he could win the second set as soon as he went down a break, and I'm not really quite sure why that was. He made 13 unforced errors in this second set. It was by far Zverev's most inconsistent set off the ground, and he also just wasn't playing his forehand very heavy either. The intensity as a whole was just not there from the racket speed and the footwork, and I'm not sure why, but it was just kind of down a break, and there was no push from that point on, and he allowed Djokovic to really get comfortable in the match. The third set represented by far the lowest quality tennis of the match, because both players hit a very, very nervous passage of play. And I can't really blame either player. This match, maybe I should have started off this analysis with this, but this match was incredibly important for both. Zverev trying to get back to the U.S. Open final, but also just looking on a 16-match winning streak, looking to prove that he could take that confidence from that winning streak and it could translate into his biggest win in a major tournament to date. And he came into this match 0-10 against top 10 players at slams, and now he's 0-11. But, I think there was some pressure on Zverev. The pressure on Djokovic goes without saying. He's trying to win this Grand Slam. This third set was when those nerves showed the most. The tennis was very bad. Novak was not moving well for some reason, and he also wasn't returning serve well at all. But he was able to climb out of pretty much every hole that he got into on his own service games, because he was hitting his first serve very well. He won 83% of first serve points and got 71% of his first serve points in play. I thought it was pretty uninspired stuff by Zverev as well. So the match remained on serve throughout the second set. At 3-4, Novak read every single Zverev serve, but missed all the returns. But that was a sign of things to come, because on Zverev's next service game, the 4-5 service game, Novak continued to read Zverev's serve, but he got the ball into the court now. And at this point, it is 4-5 in the third set, a set apiece, and Djokovic sensed that this was the most important part of the match. And if I had to circle one part of this analysis and say this is the most important part of the match, this is it. If I had to say this is what makes Novak Djokovic a great champion, this is it. It's this game, because he senses that his opponent is under pressure, and as a result, he makes every single return of serve and every single ground stroke, and he's not pushing. He's hitting them, he's hitting good groundies, but he's never going to miss. And the way he constructed most of these points was he went backhand to backhand, backhand to backhand, mixing in slice to just get Zverev a little bit tired in the rallies. Then he'd go to the forehand, and then he'd get the errors. So that's what Djokovic was doing tactically. He felt like, okay, let's trade backhands. I'm safe here. He didn't want to give Zverev a look at forehands with, until he took out the legs. As soon as he took out the legs, that's when he went to the forehand, and he got 3 forehand errors out of Zverev for love 40. Now, Zverev actually was able to almost dig out because at 15:40, he won the most incredible rally of the match. 53 shots, reminded me of like the 2011 and 2012 Djokovic Nadal rallies in those finals. It really did remind me of that. Crowd went absolutely nuts. It was incredible. And then on the next point, Djokovic turns the page completely. There's no lingering effect. The recovery from a cardio perspective was incredible from him. He made a great second serve return. He defended on his forehand with a slice forehand. Then he got the short ball later in the rally. He attacked it beautifully cross court. Zverev hit decent low defense, and then Novak hit a perfectly measured down the line approach shot with the perfect amount of margin and safety and aggressiveness, right? You want that balance. And then he finished with an overhead. I mean, it was a beautiful point that Djokovic played here in such a clutch spot. And this 4-5 game was unbelievable. This is the kind of level raise that champions are made of. The sort of game that has made Novak's career. And the reason why Djokovic wins these wars, the reason he comes out on top, is because he summons his best tennis when he needs it. And this is exactly the moment where he did that. Moving on to the fourth set, this is where Zverev played his best tennis. And by the way, just the level of tennis in general at the start of this fourth set was out of this world. And they were both playing great tennis at the same time. But Zverev was playing with a freedom that was absolutely dangerous, and it was incredible. He got the break at 1-1 with absolutely massive hitting off of both wings, leading to some stunning winners. And with every swing, he had deadly intentions. This is the freedom that Zverev just can't really find in the big spots, and he's not able to play this way. Still, even with the 16-match winning streak, he still just can't play with the kind of boldness that he brought to the table in the fourth set once he was down in this match. And then I felt for the rest of the set, Novak did not pull like a Zverev in the second set. It's not that his intensity completely dropped, but he did start going for more risky shot selection. He did, I think, try to shorten the points to conserve energy, and we all know that that's not the best version of Novak. He gave himself a chance to stay in the set, but I don't think he was fully invested in it, and I actually think that that was smart. Djokovic fancies himself in a fifth set against Zverev. He thinks that in the biggest moments, he will bring the better tennis, and he's right to believe that. The only thing that could have gone wrong for him is if he emptied his gas tank trying to come back in the fourth set. He wasn't going to do that. So he made sure he had everything left for set 5, and I don't think he played his best for the remainder of set 4, and Zverev was on point here. Now we begin the fifth set, and it really felt like this match deserved a fifth set because the whole thing had this feeling like it was unsolved, like it wasn't quite ready for anyone to really win. Novak holds, and I noticed that on this opening game in the fifth set, Djokovic played a good, strong game, made first serves and dictated, but I noticed that Zverev wasn't really putting balls in the court on defense, which is very uncharacteristic. He normally does that. So I kind of had an eyebrow raised. It wasn't a great start to the fifth set for Zverev, and then he plays a horrible game at Love 1. Zverev sandwiched a double fault in between two easy missed backhands, one on the first ball, and that had him down break point. Then at 30-40, Zverev really D'd up. He played a good defensive point, the kind of point that I often commend Novak for playing in a big spot, but it was not the right spot to do this. And Novak not only dictated the point very nicely and never missed, but he ended up breaking the pattern in a way that only really he could in this matchup, which is using his hands and his creativity. Novak hit a beautiful backhand cross-court drop shot that brought Zverev into the net, and then he hooked a cross-court forehand passing shot, wonderfully struck. And that was the break at the start of the fifth set. Now, what's the difference between what Djokovic did at the end of the third set and what Zverev did here? The difference is Djokovic is sensing his opponent is nervous at the end of the third set. And as a result, he knows that he doesn't need to do quite as much, and he's looking for that miss. But Zverev had no reason here to expect that Djokovic was going to miss down on this break point. There was no reason for Novak to be nervous, and that was just the wrong way to play that rally. You have to be aggressive, and you have to try to take it if you're Alexander Zverev. There's a time to play passively, there's a time to play safe, and there's a time to not. That was not the time. Novak holds for 3-love, and then at 3-love, Djokovic plays 2 great points, a forehand drop shot and a forehand drive combo for 30-all, or a drive forehand combo, I should say. Then at 30-all, remember, it's only one break of serve here. Zverev misses the easiest forehand in the world on the top of the net, and these are the kinds of weird shots that you don't really practice that I find Djokovic is so much more reliable than Zverev on. He just has those kinds of strange, quirky shots. He just plays them a lot better than Zverev, who does a lot better in the more metronomic baseline situations. On the following point, Zverev misses an overhead. So within the flow of the match, by the way, that's the double break for 4-love, and I'm going to end my analysis there, as that is really where Novak won the match. But within the flow of the match, it becomes obvious that in the most important moments and the most important points, Novak is the better player at peaking, and this is why he wins. Now, from a technical perspective, I will add this, and I've hinted at it throughout my chronological recounting of the match, but Novak has more options and does more things here. And in a lot of respects, yes, they cancel each other out, Zverev and Djokovic. In that respect, backhand to backhand, forehand to forehand, how much they're changing direction, serve return dynamic, all of these things can always go either way. But one area where Novak is just better is disruption and feeling like he has options based on what Zverev is doing. Let's say, first of all, I'm not getting the better of these baseline exchanges. I can break up the baseline exchanges if I'm Novak Djokovic by using the drop shot, bringing Zverev forward. I thought it was incredibly effective in this match, and I thought it was key. First of all, Zverev is not quite as quick moving forward on these drop shots as like a Daniil Medvedev. I think Zverev is very quick side to side, but I don't think he's quite as quick getting up to the ball. When he does get up to the ball, he doesn't have the best hands in the world, and his volleys are average. So it's a really good play. Novak, on the other hand, is much better at the net, and he's more reliable on approach shots. He dominated net points won in this match, and he used serve and volley. Net points won were 35 of 43, so at 81% for Novak, outstanding. For Zverev, 19 for 31. That's a 61% win percentage. That is a massive disparity, and ultimately, that really makes up the difference in the match. Guys, total points won in this one. Do I have that here on my stat page? I know it's very close. Do I have that? I don't think I do. Total points won. Yeah, unfortunately, at the stat page, I'm looking at the U.S. Open stat page. I don't have that. I know it's pretty close. It might surprise you how close it was, but I know it's close. So these things matter. These little cat and mouse situations and the net play and the drop shots, ways to break up the regular patterns in your average point. On the backhand and backhand exchanges, Novak can go to the slice a lot better than Zverev can. That's another mini advantage. And again, I just think that these things matter in a matchup that's so close, that's so tight, where the players really mirror each other in a lot of ways, and there's no obvious tactics for both of them to lean on. But ultimately, I don't think that there's anything more important in this matchup than mental fortitude. And mental fortitude is an area where Novak Djokovic has Alexander Zverev beat right now and has almost everyone else in the competition beat. I'll have the final preview tomorrow. Novak Djokovic versus Daniil Medvedev. Again, I will come out with that preview tomorrow. Until then, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.